I was talking to a customer today about this subject, and I was saying, okay, and now I have a Comet browser and I can install it on my work laptop because I can install stuff in user mode. And then I log on to my company credentials to my company environment through that browser. And then AI can control my browser in my company. So I could then ask it to, for example, create an email for me using the web browser in Office 365. I haven't tried that because I find that really scary to try. But in essence, you could ask it to do all that kind of stuff, and it will do that in your Office 365 environment of your company. And then there's an AI looking at what you're doing 24/7.
Everyone, welcome to the latest Impact of AI Explored. So today, you'll notice we don't have a guest. So we're going to do something a little bit different. It's just going to be me and Gurjan, and we're going to talk about AI browsers. We think it's a pretty hot topic. Everyone seems to be talking about AI browsers, so we're going to delve into it. We've kind of titled this "The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly." So, if you're into old movies, you'll get the reference. If not, it's a classic movie with Clint Eastwood. Go watch it. Okay, Gurjan,
You should watch it.
Yes, exactly. So let's start at the beginning. What is an AI browser?
Yeah, well, the AI browser for me is the next evolution in browsing because you get an AI assistant in your browser, which you can use to talk to, which you can use to do stuff for you. So you can also automate a lot of stuff. As I said, we talked about this before the podcast, but as I said, I'm using it as a daily browser, not for work, but for my private stuff. But if I wanted to search for a pair of sneakers, I know you're a sneaker fan, some Nike Air Jordan stuff, and I can search, give me some good Nike Air Jordans in this price range, in this color, and search. And if you have found them already, and then also put them already in the basket so I can check which you chose, it will do that for you.
Okay. All right. There, as I said, you've been using them more than me, so that's something I wasn't aware of. That it's the kind of first stage of agentic AI, as you can give it tasks to do. Now, I presume you do not hand over your credit card details.
Yeah, well, the issue is you can tell it to do stuff, and I have a MacBook and a Windows device, so I use. There are a few browsers that you can use. So Perplexity has Comet, OpenAI has Atlas, and Microsoft is starting a limited preview with an agentic browser in Edge.
Okay, so having agentic AI
coming.
features within Microsoft Edge.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something that's coming. So, and if you look at, I'm using on my Windows device, I'm using Comet, and on my MacBook, I installed the Atlas version that OpenAI used. And the first thing is, it asked me when I installed it, can I get access to your keychain? So to all your passwords. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. But that's something that they, because if it really wants to help you, it also should have access to your, for example, credit card details, because it then can buy stuff for you. That's really cool and incredibly scary. And that's not what I want to do.
Whatsoever.
No. But if you look at the...
Okay. So in an ideal world, you can give it a task and give it access to money, and it can go and complete tasks for you. Okay.
Exactly.
What's some other things you kind of have been using it for?
Well, you can ask it questions about the website you're on, with your browsing on. Say, okay, can you give me some information or translate it? Or the fun thing is that it does also the same thing that Google does in your browser. If you ask it a question in the bar where you put the URL, it will also do an LLM stuff, so it will interpret your question and give you an answer based on the information it has, and give you some websites where you can find more information. So it's in essence, it's just a basic AI assisted browser, but the cool stuff starts when you let it do things. Then it becomes really interesting. The other thing is when you ask it to do stuff, you have to wait for it to complete. So if I ask it, I want to drive from here to Paris, from Enschede, where I live near, to Paris, and give me 4 stops, and I want 2 of those stops to be where I can charge my car. So give me 4 stops in between, 2 where I can charge my car. It will do that for you, and it will show you everything it's doing. So you see him logging onto Google Maps, you see him searching for charging points for your electric vehicle, you see him searching for all that stuff. And that's really interesting, but it's also not really a time saver at the moment, because you can see what it's doing, and it's telling you in the bar on the right what it's doing at that moment. So searching for, clicking here, looking at, finding stops, and it's all that stuff that's really cool. Where you think, okay, well, I don't want to do that, so you open another tab and you do something else, and then in the end it will come back saying, I found your I found everything you want. And I did that also on the variant, the Atlas that OpenAI has. And it gave me a pop-up on my phone saying, I completed your request for the search. Click here for the results. And I asked you to find a cheap mobile phone thing, a mobile phone monthly subscription. And it searched for me for something for €4, find, and it went off, and then it came back to me, and I got a pop-up on my phone saying, I found 2. Click here, which one would you like more?
So what do you see as the key difference between running an LLM in a browser tab and running it in a full browser? What do you see as the key difference?
Yeah, well, if you run it in a tab, you can just talk with it, and the browser is an interface to the LLM. If you have it integrated in your browser, it will give you more feedback on what's happening, and you can, well, I like it when it does stuff for me, finding a flight to Barcelona, for example, and then I can do other stuff, and you come back to you saying, okay, I found a flight in this specific time window you wanted, and here you go. And that's, of course, the next evolution in helping people being assisted by AI. So that's the difference for me, is if you have a browser running an LLM, you can talk to it and it can give you information, or you can have a deep conversation with it. But if you have a truly AI assisted browser, it can also help you get stuff done.
Yeah.
And it has more interaction also with the website that you're on.
Okay.
It can ask you questions about, you can ask questions about the website that you're running or whatever.
Yeah. So you're basically talking about, essentially it improves productivity. You could do research. You've said, like, you're talking about flights there. And then you can kind of get more information out of it, essentially.
Yeah. And the scary thing is, because I was talking to a customer today about this subject, and I was saying, okay, and now I have a common browser and I can install it on my work laptop, because I can install stuff in user mode. And then I log on to my company credential with my company credentials to my company environment through that browser. And then AI can control my browser in my company. So I could then ask it to, for example, create an email for me using the web browser in Office 365. I haven't tried that because I find that really scary to try, and I'm really scared to see what it's going to do. But in essence, you could ask it to do all that kind of stuff, and it will do that in your Office 365 environment of your company. And then there's an AI looking at what you're doing 24/7.
Yeah.
In essence.
Okay. This is getting into the bad side of the things. Nice segue. So we've kind of said it's a productivity hack. That's great. But we've kind of alluded to there the fact that there is some pretty, there's some things you really have to be aware of. And obviously, one of the first ones is browser hijacking, because you've just
Yeah,
described a scenario where you're using an AI enabled browser and then you've accessed corporate resources. So this seems like potential for shadow AI and even worse, because you basically become a point where an attack can occur.
exactly. And this is also fun because we talked about Microsoft Recall, where your computer is taking a screenshot every few seconds of what you are
Mhm.
doing and storing that locally. Microsoft has, and some other companies have found ways to block certain apps from being screenshotted.
Mhm.
But how does that work if you have completely separate browser that is controlled by an AI?
Yeah.
How do you uh, arm yourself for that eventuality when someone has a Comet or an Atlas browser? Or, for example, you have an Edge with a Copilot
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's
automation
definitely
mode in it. How do you keep your data in check if you don't know if the user is pushing the buttons or an AI is pushing the buttons? For the people wondering what happened, we had some technical difficulties, as one has in the podcast. But we'll edit all that out, and no worries. But so we need to find back where we were. So I was talking about how you as an IT admin can figure out if a human or an AI is touching stuff in the browser. And I think that's an incredible complex one to figure out and to keep safe.
Yeah. Yeah, because it yeah, because you're on a non-company device, on an agentic,
Or on a
or
company
on a
device.
company.
If you can install it in user mode inside your
Sure,
own
sure. Yeah, it depends on what
profile.
access you have. Like I have full admin rights on my laptop, so, and I connect to
Yeah.
the corporate network. But well, I open up a browser to access our M365 tenant. That's about it. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying then, because essentially you could open it then, and then you're in the corporate environment. So this is going to be a headache.
Yeah.
For IT, and obviously we both work in end user computing, so this is going to be a headache for people. There's various different things to take into consideration. Um, you've been running it for a while, so there's obviously the security angle, which is a concern, and we're you're going to probably have a lot of companies who block agentic browsers on corporate networks and corporate devices, or whatever way you access it. So that's one way. But I suppose the other angle is, what's the kind of, if you're, say, like a lot of users would be in end user computing, are on accessing, like an ABD environment, which is obviously, and it's a multi-session, so you're sharing resources. But have you seen, like, what's the kind of performance on with an agentic browser? Have you noticed a difference
It's
over a
it's
standard browser, or is it about the same?
it's about the same. Once the only you can see once you're starting to use AI, because it's run, if you use Perplexity, it's from Perplexity.
Well,
If you run OpenAI, it's from OpenAI. You can see there's a delay once you get to ask a question, and it has to do stuff because then it has to interpret a website, and then it needs to know where to click. But it doesn't read the website; it just interprets it and finds, okay, I think I need to click over here, and then you can see that process taking time. So taking a screenshot, uploading it, interpreting it, finding it where to go, getting back to the browser. Okay, yeah, I have to click there, making a new screenshot, interpreting it in the cloud, and then coming back. So there's a delay once you get into the agentic, the automated stuff. But as a normal browser, as a daily driver, as one would say, it's it's fine. And they're all Chromium based. So in the end, if you use Chrome, Edge, or
yeah.
one of those, that doesn't really
And
matter.
can you turn it? It kind of defeats the whole purpose. But I presume you could disable the agentic features and just run it as a browser, as well,
Yeah,
if there was, like, security concerns. And obviously, there is security concerns. So one of the things, there's a couple of things. Obviously, there's browser hijacking. So that is essentially where someone can access the browser and start putting in prompts that are not going to be particularly good, or they have an aim in hand. But also you can see things like prompt injection, because which so you're going to see issues with the prompts that are being issued to the instructions. And then I suppose one of the big things is, where is this data being stored, and is it like accessible? Like, um, is there a directory on the machine where the data is being stored, or is it all being pushed to the cloud?
It, as far as I can tell, and as we say on these podcasts, there is no experts, because you can be an expert on a little thing.
Yeah.
I'm just using it and starting to feel what it can do. I haven't found a place where it stores it locally. As far as I can see, is the queries that you put in it are stored, for example, in this browser in Perplexity. And if I look at Perplexity from my phone, I can also see the queries that I did there. So it syncs to all devices. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
all going to
Yeah.
the cloud.
Yeah. I just wonder, is there a cache or something that if potentially someone got access to your machine, they could potentially extract data out of it? So we will check into that, and if we find anything,
That's
we'll put
yeah.
it in the show notes. Because I'm not sure, but I'd say it's probably a possibility.
Yeah, well, it's a new a new field we have to explore, and as with all this
Yeah.
AI stuff, you can see that it mostly starts in the
So
consumer part, and then it comes to the
yeah,
it
well,
starts at the
that's what
community
I was
side,
going
and
to
then
say.
it's tips over to the company side.
Yeah, it's kind of very much consumer focused, I think, at the moment. I don't think you're going to see many organizations adopting agentic browsers at this moment in time, just due to some of the security concerns which we've highlighted.
Yeah, yeah, but uh, and that's because we are both in IT and we can see all the problems with it. But if you look at the perks that it has a potential lifesaver. If you have to do some stuff, for example, you're always nagging about doing expenses. But if you can talk to the agentic browser and say, here are my expenses, this is the expense app, can you please expense everything for me?
Yeah,
And it will do that
yeah,
while you are working in another tab,
yeah,
doing other stuff. And you can check sometimes if it's doing the right
yeah.
thing. And it will say in the end, okay, I expense everything. Would you like to click the apply button to invoice them all? There's a potential saver.
Oh, yeah. No, I can see. I think, like most things, it's a balance, and it's just getting that balance right. And unfortunately, I think the way that these companies have produced it, like a lot of things in AI, we could talk about MCP servers, their security. There's all of these different components that are coming out. Security kind of is always the last thing, and um, I have read some stuff, and we'll post some links to some of the articles about how this can go really badly wrong because of things like browser hijacking, where essentially a hacker has access and can start running things and look at everything you've seen or been doing. And the more you pass over to these things, such as your credit card details, your bank details, then there is a potential. So I think there has to be a lot more security implemented on these browsers before everyone kind of dives into them. But it seems from a productivity standpoint, they're really good, and I definitely need to start
Yeah.
doing more with it and see what I can get out of it, and then go from there. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of see where we are with them.
Yeah,
And
it's the next evolution in RPA, if you could say. RPA is robotic process automation, where you can tell a desktop or a browser or something to click on buttons for you in a specified following on a website or in an application. But this one, you don't need to show them what are gonna do. You just tell them what you want, and it will figure it out on its own.
do you
So
think
it's the
there's
next evolution in RPA, and that's also really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that we're seeing, because it kind of can access things and start doing things, it hallucinates less, or have you noticed a difference?
Well, at the moment, yeah. Well, at the moment we are at version 1.
Mm,
So hallucination, yes. Wrong clicking, yes. Misinterpreting what I want, yes. Making errors, yes.
mm,
Uh, but as the quality increases, as with every AI tool, hallucination, and you have to. This is also the learning curve. You need to prompt the correct way
yeah.
to keep the hallucination to a minimum. We have to learn how to talk
You have to give
to
it enough
an LLM.
context,
Just
like you do with a standard prompt. Just because it's in an agentic browser,
exactly.
your prompts should give enough context that there's not vagueness in it. So yeah. Right.
Yeah, so it knows what to do. But there is, at the moment, it's a little bit flimsy at
Mm,
times, and I wouldn't trust it with my credit card or letting me do stuff. But to play around and say, I want a Ray-Ban Meta, get me the cheapest place and put it
I'm not talking to you if you get a
in
pair of
in the
those.
trolling.
We're not having a conversation ever again if you get a pair of them. I'm telling you now. Or if I see you with them
Duly
on,
noted.
I'm going to take them and I'm going to throw them somewhere.
Yeah, off a bridge.
Yeah, off a bridge into a river. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, no, yeah, not for me. But I get what you're saying. I've discussed this before, and I've discussed it on social media. I am not a fan of these devices where they're constantly recording. Obviously we have our phones and that kind of thing, but the you know everything you're doing at all times, no, no, thank you. Um,
Yeah,
so okay, so we've kind of looked at the good and the bad, and we've examined the ugly, because it does get ugly quite quickly, because of the potential. But I suppose if you're just using it as a productivity solution, then and just and given that what we've said, these are all V1 of these, they're going to get better. Hopefully,
yeah,
security is going to be an aspect of them. But they will become more precise in what they do and that kind of thing. So it will be interesting to see how it develops. But as you said, they're early stages, and I think there's no harm with like kicking the tires and playing around with it. And you've been playing with it now, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Microsoft version works in. And Google are coming and going to start enabling agentic features in Chrome,
yep,
because that will just end the other ones. Like they've been doing with, they've
exactly.
Gemini 3 came out. Google is quietly taking back the reins of everything. So they invented, Chrome. Chrome is their baby, and all of these are Chromium based. So they're just going to put an end to them by going, yeah, we're just going to bring in all the features ourselves. And then,
Yeah,
given that it's someone who's established in enterprise, if Google brings it in, then potentially we should have the enterprise level controls we need and the security, whether that's, I don't know, if there's some sort of RBAC, role-based access control within it. So if you deploy an agentic browser to an enterprise, you can control what features are available and what are not, and all of that kind of thing. Because until there's that level of control, it ain't getting into any enterprise. Um,
no,
now obviously people can have it installed on their phones and stuff like that, and there's not a lot you can do to prevent that if they're personal devices. So it is a kind of it's a new challenge, and I am very glad I am no longer an EUC admin and architect and have to worry about any of this kind of stuff. It would
no.
it's
But
getting, yeah, it's getting pretty complex for anyone, and I think it sure. First of all, you had AI running in a tab. Now you have it running in its own
in the
browser, and
core
then being
of the
able to
browser,
take
yeah,
actions within a corporate environment. Like it is a yeah, and until there's like a whole kind of enterprise version of this, it's not getting in anywhere because the security risks are far too high. So our recommendation is essentially go play with it and see what you think. Don't put anything sensitive or anything like that in it, and just see what you can do with it.
No. And on the positive note, if you have a privately owned laptop, or there's a way to test this without using it with company data, it is a really cool thing to play around with, just to show what it can and to give you an idea about what one of the next evolutions in AI is going to be. I would not call it a revolution, but it's an evolution. But that's something that's coming in 2026. It's going to be something that's going to be more mainstream, and people are going to use it more and more. And it's going to be something that will take over the consumer side, and then companies will have no choice but to implement it in some
Yeah,
way.
and that's what we've seen. We've seen the evolution within end user computing. Like if we think about where it used to be, it was locked down. You had there was proxy servers to block every website known to man. You could access, a news channel and maybe the weather, and that was about it. Um, you'd have to, and then obviously you'd have to whitelist any site you were trying to get into to get access to, and then we've kind of loosened those controls. And as there's an evolution in the workforce, then obviously this will change because of Gen Z or Gen Alpha or utilizing these kind of solutions, or millennials or Gen X, anyone essentially. But it will, yeah, as you said, it will come from the consumer side, and if it gains in popularity, then it will obviously make its way to enterprise. But I think the security controls we outlined will be a requirement before it to be implemented on a large scale in an enterprise.
Yeah, and I was thinking about last night. I was thinking about when we talked about doing this podcast. I was thinking about what we can do, but I was thinking about that. For example, the free version of ChatGPT might show ads. How about a free version of an agentic browser where you can say, "Give me the cheapest pair of Nike sneakers," and it will do that with the stores that pay money to be on that agentic browser, as a way to make money in the future,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
monetizing
yeah,
your
yeah.
AI.
No,
It's
yeah,
the possibilities are endless.
yeah, no, no, definitely. There's definitely lots of possibilities. Yeah, as you said, e-commerce is going to be huge because if you can influence how the agentic browser is responding with your site at the top, then obviously that makes a huge difference. So yeah, and we will see it. We talked about this before briefly about we did an episode all about SEO and how that's evolving, and this is another facet of it because you will see kind of we will get to the stage where you go, okay, go get me that in this size, in this color, bang. And maybe we'll get to the stage where we will be safe enough that we will, give over financial, or I don't know, you do it via a one-time virtual card or something like that, just to kind of get around it or something like that. There's different options,
Yeah, but looking at what next year might bring in the AI browser world, it will be a very interesting year.
Oh yeah.
For
No,
example,
no.
for
I
monetization, and to
as
see
I
how
think,
we.
yeah, as we've said, like Microsoft are obviously going to do it. Google, I know, is working on agentic features for Chrome. So the the heavyweights of the browser world are not going to take this lying down. So yeah,
No,
we're not going to see. So potentially, if we're talking enterprise, Microsoft Edge is going to be the first agentic browser that's utilized at scale in enterprise because everyone has Edge these days on it, on their kind of corporate
with
devices.
Copilot.
So yeah, it's potentially gonna, there will definitely be developments there. So it's going to be interesting to kind of watch how that develops.
Yeah, and it's cool to see how these browsers will also get better with features like long-term memory, knowing your clicking behavior, knowing what type of sites you like, and uh, ordering from the types of sites you visit most often, and all those things that can now happen once the AI gets to know you and what you are doing and how you use your browser on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That will help you really be more productive in what you're doing. And it is also very scary because an AI is always looking. That's also something that you see happening now. There are browsers that are mimicking, and in the future can mimic what you are doing.
Mm.
So to make it even more human-like.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We get into that gray area I don't like. Yeah.
I know. It's really concerning.
Yeah. No, it is quite concerning, and it's interesting. Like most things with this technology, it's just kind of, where does it end up? And it's going to be very interesting to kind of determine that. But yeah, I definitely agree that there's a lot of upside to it from a productivity standpoint, and kind of, and then the enterprise features will come. So and we will see wider adoption of this. But I think, there is quite a few use cases out there, and it'll be interesting to see how they kind of develop as solutions.
Exactly. Really cool. Really cool stuff.
Excellent. So
Yeah, we could talk about this for another day. Talking talking about profiles, talking about how in the future it can browse, can be multi-browser based or multi-tab based, so you can do something in this tab and it will remember that in a
yeah,
different
because
tab,
it
and
has the memory
all the things that
capabilities built in, doesn't it, as well? So it does remember everything. So yeah, all of those capabilities that you have within a standard browser window are there. So with memory, so you don't have to repeat yourself. I don't know. Can you do custom instructions? Can you? In the same way
as in
the way you can determine how uh, in like a tab, you can say respond like this in this tone. I don't know if you can do that I presume you probably can.
yeah, you can. It's just talk to the LLM to let him do
Yeah,
that, and
exactly.
then say, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
write me an angry response on the response form for Nike because the laces suck,
Exactly.
and it will do that.
Yeah. Uh, All right. So I think what we're saying is we're early with the browsers. They have huge potential. They have huge threats. And but So be careful what you do with them, but they will evolve and get more secure and get more feature rich as the versions kind of evolve. So play
Exactly.
around with it. Two we've mentioned are Perplexity, Comet, and OpenAI Atlas, which is
Atlas.
only available for Mac at the moment. So
Yeah,
OpenAI
exactly.
hates Windows users. So
You heard it here
there you
first.
go. Yeah. All right. We will see you on the next episode.
Yes, thanks all for listening, and we hope to see you next time. And if you have a cool use case for an AI browser, or you want to talk in the podcast about this, please let us know, because we're open to any kind of expertise that someone else might have, and we're really interested to hear from you what you are doing with an agentic browser. So drop us a line if you have any cool stuff. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.
See you next time.